Hey there folks, it's Scott once again and welcome to another review, this time of the 2019 horror film, Us. And I saw this on April 9th, about a week and a half ago or so. Don't know if you can tell, but the price has definitely gone up. Oh, I'm not actually covering it up, but there you go. It's at $5.95 now. It used to be $5.68 and they've definitely gone up quite considerably, about 27 cents increase, so there you go. I guess it's no surprise things are going up these days, especially in grocery stores. Gas is going up a bit more now. So yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, getting back to the film, overall I thought it was just barely okay, but I have to admit it was a disappointing film from Jordan Peele. This is the same guy that did the film Get Out a couple years back, and I actually liked that film. And, Jordan Peele, showed that he had some talent, kind of stretching out of his comfort zone, because he's mainly used to doing comedy with this, what's that other actor, I forget what his name is. Jordan Peele, I know he frequently Keegan-Michael Kay. So yeah, that's the guy's name I'm thinking of. And that film Get Out had some comedy elements to it, like the friend of Chris's, the TSA agent, Rob, I think, I think it was Rob. It's been a while since I've seen the film, but I remember liking it, and he brought the comic relief definitely to it. And there was some other, I can't remember if he was really the main comedy element, but anyways, getting back to this film, this is the first time he's decided to do a more straightforward horror film. But it does have the elements of comedy, especially surrounding the family and the way the husband behaves and whatnot. So yeah, there are definitely flaws to this film that definitely bring this film down. It's mainly the twist ending and something else, and the family as a whole, the chemistry. I'll get to that eventually. But yeah, basically I'll start off with what happens in the plot and whatnot. But before I get to that, I should probably note who produced this. This was also produced by Jordan Peele. He also wrote the film too. It was produced, of course, by Blumhouse Entertainment. Jason Blum, he's produced so many horror films. Like he produced the Halloween, not necessarily remake, but continuation of the first one. And he's done other films like The Lazarus Effect, and he's done so many horror films I can't even think of off the top of my head. But yeah, and a couple other producers, Ian Cooper and Sean McKittrick. And the film stars Lupita Nyong'o, I guess, if that's how you pronounce her name. You have Winston Duke, Elisabeth Moss, Tim Heidecker. So I'm not really familiar with Lupita. I guess she was in... Was she in Black Panther? I have to look that up. Yep, she was in Black Panther. She was actually... she was Maz Kanata. And apparently she's going to be in Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker yet again, so yeah, that's interesting. Apparently she was in Non-Stop. Oh yeah, and 12 Years a Slave, so I have yet to see that film, but I hear it's good, so yeah. Sorry for getting off that topic. Back to this film. Sorry, I go back. Excuse me. But anyways, back to this film. She plays a character named Adelaide Wilson, and of course apparently we flash back to 1986 when she was a young child, and basically she's with her parents in Santa Cruz, at this little kind of little theme park fun house. Well, she enters a fun house that's basically the House of Mirrors and stuff like that, and eventually she encounters like a doppelganger of herself, and she looks horrified, and then we cut to black, and then sometime later she's somehow reunited with her parents, and she's unable to speak, and presumably because of the trauma she encountered when she was in the House of Mirrors. And because of that, the parents encourage her to basically, draw, sing, dance to express her emotions. And we see that she takes a liking to dance and whatnot. We also see that the parents, are talking to this counselor and whatnot, so yeah. And basically, then we fast forward to the present day now, where now adult Adelaide is, at her, she has a family, she has a husband, Gabe, and their two children, Zora and Jason. and Zora is, of course, is the teenager, you know, playing with her phone and whatnot. And then Jason's, of course, the youngest one. And we see that the family's going on their trip to the family beach house in Santa Cruz. They also encounter, they also have a few friends that they hang out with. And, you know, Adelaide, you know, still is kind of apprehensive about going on this trip, you know, not to be reminded of the whole ordeal that happened back in '86. And so, you know, basically because apparently the people they hang out with, they're apparently rich as well. He actually that Gabe guy, her husband, buys a boat, so I guess that's kind of the comedy element to that. Brushes off her concerns, and then eventually at the beach, whenever they are there, apparently Jason sees a man in a red jumpsuit standing alone with blood dripping from his hands, but of course he doesn't tell her about it. He actually disappears, but luckily Adelaide finds him. And then apparently, later that night, you know, a strange family of four appears, and you know, and they don't know who they are, and they basically come to find out that these four people that are appearing outside the Wilson house, they break into their home, and it turns out they're basically, you know, four doppelgangers of themselves, you know, led by Adelaide's double, Red. Apparently they're each wearing the same jumpsuit, they're red ones, and Jason's doppelganger Pluto is basically wearing this white skin type mask that kind of covers up his face, and you eventually see why. Apparently, you find out that his face is all burned up. And then Pluto is, Red, the only doppelganger who speaks, because apparently none of them speaks, and the husband basically just, you know, yells out and doesn't really have any dialogue, which I thought was kind of interesting. The red doppelganger tells her tells the Wilsons the story of a girl that lives a happy life while her shadow suffers, which is, of course, Adeline. And the shadow is denied any love or companionship and is forced to eat a raw rabbit every time the girl eats. And the shadow ends up hating the girl and vows revenge. And eventually, the family, you know, is eventually divided up. You know, Red makes Adelaide handcuff herself to a table. Zora is pursued by Ombre, the other doppelganger with her, and Gabe is dragged by the boat by Abraham, and Jason, of course, is sent to play with Pluto in the closet. And while Zora's being chased by Amber, she eventually encounters a neighbor, and the neighbor gets stabbed by the scissors, because apparently they all have these weapons. Adelaide has the scissors as well. And the distraction allows Zora to escape. And Gabe is able, despite being knocked out with a baseball bat, he's able to overpower Abraham and eventually kill him with his own boat's intermittently malfunctioning motor. And apparently Jason discovers that Pluto's mirrors these actions exactly, and he's able to kind of, you know, distract Pluto with a little magic trick, and eventually he's able to lock him inside the closet, and Red is drawn to Pluto's cries, and this allows Adelaide to break free, and the family regroups and escapes on Gabe's boat. And apparently, while this is happening, meanwhile, somehow the Tylers, who were the rich friends that the Wilsons encountered earlier, they're eventually murdered by their doubles as well. That includes the wife, the husband, and the two daughters, apparently, which is unexpected. And the Wilsons arrive and they find out that's what's happening. The same thing that's happening to them is now happening to the Tylers, except they're all dead. And they turn on the news to see that millions of doppelgangers who call themselves the Tethered have been murdering their original counterparts nationwide. And eventually you see that the doppelgangers have joined kind of hands together to form a massive human chain, which the newscasters, you know, tend to speculate as a kind of a protest. And eventually the Wilsons drive away in Tyler's car until they're attacked by Amber, but then they're able to kind of swing her around, and she's thrown into the trees, and eventually down the road, when day breaks, the Wilsons arrive at the Santa Cruz boardwalk, where they find their own abandoned wagon on fire, and apparently Pluto has set a trap to kill the Wilsons by lighting gasoline to the Tyler's car. And somehow Jason, remembering Pluto's every move, walks backward, tricking Pluto into killing himself by walking into the fire, while the Wilsons are transfixed are apparently shocked by Pluto's, self-immolation. Red appears and takes away Jason. And eventually, when Zor and Gabe kind of recuperate in the abandoned ambulance, Adelaide returns to basically goes through these stairs and eventually comes to some kind of secret tunnel in the Hall of Mirrors. And this leads to the underground facility overrun by the rabbits, where Adelaide finds Red. And the rabbits, it's kind of interesting how the rabbits play in, because the way the scene opens up, you see a rabbit, and you see like a whole bunch of them in the beginning, which I thought was interesting, because apparently that's what Red eats, I guess, whenever the human counterpart eats, is rabbits. And then, Adelaide finds Red, writing on this chalkboard, and Red reveals that the ones who are wearing these red jumpsuits are basically clones of the U.S. population created by the government in an attempt to control the public. But apparently the experiment failed, and the tethered were abandoned underground for generations, trapped beneath the surface, doing nothing but force to mimic the actions of their above-ground counterparts, until Red organized them to escape as a form of revenge. And eventually the two fight, Red basically, slashing at kind of Adelaide once in a while Adelaide's trying her best to fight her, but eventually she gains the upper hand by, stabbing her with one of the, I forget what she grabs, and eventually she's able to take the handcuffs that she had on there and strangle her with it eventually, and she manages to rescue Jason. And then the big twist reveals, so spoilers, if you have not seen this film, go ahead and turn it off. Basically, as the family is leaving town in the abandoned ambulance, Adelaide actually thinks back to when she encountered the doppelganger. It is revealed that somehow Red actually grabbed Adelaide and, strangled and didn't kill her, but dragged her into the facility and actually chained her. I think it was either handcuffs or either way she changed her to the bed in the facility and went out to take her place in real life, meaning that, shockingly enough, the Red that was that was released in the underground facility was actually the real Adelaide, and the one that was apparently throughout this movie is the I guess the doppelganger. And Jason watches her apprehensively before covering his face with his mask, and as of course the family drives off, helicopters kind of watch the tether join across the landscapes of the United States. There's like a huge line, and we actually see a bit of a huge line whenever the Wilsons go back to the boardwalk and whatnot. So there you go. And basically that's how the film ends. And the biggest, I guess, one of the cons to this film, honestly, is I just really didn't feel like there was much chemistry between the family. I mean, the acting's not the problem. It's the actors do an okay job. I mean, maybe the kids, there's really not much. They don't really seem to do a whole lot other than, there is this cool moment. Well, I'll get to that. But the main cons to this was just the lack of chemistry between the family. I felt like they weren't really much of a family. I just felt like it wasn't there. It was, like I said, this film wasn't as good as Get Out. And I do admire, Jordan Peele for going for the full straight horror approach to this film, but I just feel like they had some issues, mainly with the chemistry of the family. That's the problem. And the biggest one I have was definitely the twist at the end. You did not need to put that in there. I would have rather just, Adelaide was able to overcome her doppelganger, and that's that. Not do this unexpected twist where it turns out the actual Red is then in fact the real Adelaide, and I guess the one that we've been, following throughout this film is in fact the doppelganger. So that kind of sucks. I mean, does she learn to be a lot more human now? Is that maybe the good thing? Or does she, I don't know. I felt like they could have done a little. I feel like in overall they felt like they could have done a little more with the characters here, and it's a bit of a disappointment. That's the thing. That's why it's not quite as good as Get Out. But that's the main problem I had with it, was the ending, the lack of chemistry with the family, and yeah, I guess you can say that's the main flaw. But pros, I definitely give, pros to Jordan Peele and the fact that he's able to create this the fact that there's doppelgangers underground in the government, and it was abandoned. And I kind of like that idea. I wish they would have fleshed that. I think that's another con. They should have fleshed that out a little bit more, I think, was the problem. But anyways, the acting's not bad. I mean, the kids, they're there, and it's not, it's not a huge problem. I mean, it's cool whenever the teenager is able to, smack the doppelgangers of the doubles in the Tyler house, the rich folks. I thought that scene was done very well, where they're able to technically I think the teen kills one of them, but apparently one of them is still running around, and I think that's when Adelaide is able to finish her off and get the keys and steal their car and get in. So yeah, there's some nice little sequences here and there, and I like how eventually how Gabe is able to take out his doppelganger. It was Abraham, I believe, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, and he's able to take him out, and by knock him into the water and killing him with the motor on this boat. The husband's not a bad character, but I feel like he's clueless. But I think the best actress. The best part was, definitely the actress Adelaide, even though I don't like what they did with her character at the very end, where it turns out she was really the doppelganger, and the person that came out of the underground facility is in fact the real Red. But she did a good job of playing, twisted versions of herself and making you feel sorry for her and what she's going through. I think looking back, they could have fleshed out, her earlier childhood a little better, but now that I think about it, I guess you couldn't, because they definitely have this common thing of really liking to dance and whatnot, but kind of wish they would have fleshed out why she kind of stopped doing it. So, but yeah, what else? What was a pro to this? If I'm not mistaken, I think, like I said, I like the idea of the government creating these clones of their original doppelgangers and whatnot. Just wish they would have expanded on that. You got good amounts of blood here and there. I don't think it's necessarily gore and whatnot. I mean, there's some nice little shots where it's disturbing shots where the doppelganger of what's her face? One of the Tylers. Let me see. Yeah, Elisabeth Moss' character, Kitty, I believe, when there's actually a tethered character, the Dahlia, where she's, kind of cutting up on her face, and I think it was Adelaide that took her out, or maybe it was one of the daughters, I guess, I don't remember, it's been a while. But yeah, I thought the musical score, I guess, was decent, especially I like it's kind of interesting how it opened. It was a very interesting piece. I forget who did the music. I don't know if it's the same guy that did Get Out, but his name is Michael Abelis, or Abels, I guess. Yeah, he did the film for Get Out. He hasn't really done much. He did Get Out, and he's done this film, surprisingly enough, so yeah. But anywho, can I recommend this film? I mean, I guess give it a watch, but you'll be a little bit disappointed by how it ends, and kind of like how I was. I felt like the whole family chemistry could have been better, but the acting's not bad. There are moments of levity whenever, Gabe, buys his boat and whatnot, and, what else did he do? I guess looking back, I feel like the husband could have done a little bit more. I guess that's another con to this. But it's not a bad film, just I wish, Jordan Peele would have written a fitting ending. There was definitely a different ending originally for Get Out, where Chris ended up in jail, but I'm glad they didn't go that route. He actually got, he was able to go with Rob, and you know, drive away from all that shit. So yeah, kind of wish there would have been a better ending. So, but yeah, I don't hate this film, but it could have been better overall. Would I recommend it? You know, give it a watch once and make sure you see it for cheap. So, but yeah, sorry if I haven't been around to do a review for a while. I don't know. Right now I'm okay, but my right side, I don't know if I have kidney stones or, you know, what's that, appendicitis or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. Because honestly, thinking back, I might have to take a break for a while. I'm not sure, but I might make another video on that, but I don't know. And hopefully the quality of this camera, because I'm using my integrated webcam, hopefully the quality of me recording this looks a little better. I hope. I don't know if it will, but I'll like to see how it turns out. So yeah. But you know what? I'm going to end it here, folks, and I hope you like this video. Give it a thumbs up. You know, if you're new here, you know, subscribe to my channel and let me know if you like my reviews or rants, whatever I do. And I'll do my best to bring you the best content as possible. So, but yeah. Okay, I will see you later, folks. Later.